Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari. Gopi Jana Balaba Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Balaba Girivaradari. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Balaba Girivaradari. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. It's March 13th, 2023, in Hillsborough, North Carolina. I'm reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 43, Text 31. Janeshvevam Ruvaneshu Turyeshu Ninda Datsucha Krishna Rama Sabhastya Chanuro Vakyama Bravit. Janeshu, as the people, Evam, thus, Ruvaneshu, were speaking, Turyeshu, as the musical instruments, Ninadatsu, were resounding, Cha, and Krishna Ramao, Krishna and Balarama, Samabhasya, addressing Chanuraha, the demonic wrestler Chanura. Vakyam, words, Abravit, said, BBT translation. While the people talked in this way, and the musical instruments resounded, the wrestler Chanura addressed Krishna and Balaram with the following words. Purport, Chanura could not tolerate that the audience was praising Krishna so highly. Therefore, he had to say something to I'm going to read Sanatana Goswami's commentary. Ajiva Goswami has pretty much identical one. While they were speaking in this way out of joy, this is the people of Mathura, that Krishna's entered the wrestling assembly. And they're praising Krishna and Balaram. And they're talking about, what are they talking about? How Krishna and Balaram did what kind of things? Kill demons. They're particularly talking about how Krishna and Balaram killed demons because there's about this wrestling match is about to go. While they were speaking in this way out of joy, their incomplete statements were interrupted by the sounds of instruments. So, right, we've been waiting for something to start, right? You're waiting for some program to start and you're talking, and then the program actually starts and you have to stop your discussion in the middle. These talks showed that it was impossible to stop them from speaking since they were the majority and indicated that their words were true. So, in other words, they're in Kamsa's kingdom, and Kamsa wants this wrestling match to go on to have Krishna and Balaram be dead. But everybody praising Krishna showed that the people on Krishna and Balaram's side were in the majority and what they were speaking was true. Okay, going on. The sound of the instruments indicated the envy the wrestlers had for Krishna and Balaram. So why would that be the case? The instruments are like, okay, now we're going to fight them. The music sounded continuously, Nina Datsu, showing the wrestlers' enthusiasm for fighting. Addressing the boys, the wrestlers spoke. Chanura spoke words. The sentence indicates that he would speak something important. He would speak cruel words. Or vakyam can mean avakyam. Chanuraha avakyam abravit. Chanura spoke unsuitable. Janesvevam Bruvaneshu Turyesu Nina Datsucha Krishna Ramo Samabhashya Chanura Vakyama Bravit. While the people talked in this way and the musical instruments resounded, the wrestler Chanura addressed Krishna and Balaram with the following words. So this particular verse reminds me of something that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said that our Srila Prabhupada would quote as evidence of envy. He said, envy means that you hear, oh, so-and-so, Mr. Smith has become a high court judge. And you say, no, I knew Mr. Smith when we were children. There's no way he could become a high court judge. Yes, I saw him sitting on the bench in the high court. Well, then they must not be paying him. So envy is when we can't tolerate seeing someone else praised. We can't tolerate seeing somebody else have something good, and we have to cut them down. So that's what Chanura is doing. He's so fried that all these people are saying, yay, Krishna and Balaram, they killed this demon and that demon and this demon and that demon. And so the demons start playing these instruments to drown them out. No, we're going to be victorious. Yes? This is envy. Now, what we're going to discover today is that the source, and this is something that's always like, as Padma would say, is a mind blow for me, that this envy is the source of our experiencing material miseries. We might think that our material miseries are objective. I mean, it seems that way to me. Like the other day, I face planted on concrete, scraped up my nose. So that seems like an objective suffering, right? Or my grandson has died. That seems like an objective suffering. Or, somebody inherits $1 million. That seems like an objective happiness. It just seems like there's suffering. I mean, and you can say Krishna says, Dukkalayam Shasvatam. This is Dukkalayam. It's a place of dukkha. So therefore, I'm just going to be suffering. But the Shastra tells us that whether or not we're suffering is a matter of our consciousness. And we all experience this. We all experience that if we're in a particular state of consciousness, then things that are objectively painful are not so. Just like when people are in a certain state of consciousness, things that are objectively happy are not so. Yes? If somebody's in a really disturbed state of consciousness, you could give them one of Apurva's globulins and they wouldn't be happy. You follow? I don't want to eat that. I'm doing it. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 6:20 that when we're absorbed in the self and in reality, we're actually in the state above all miseries. That doesn't mean objectively bad things don't happen. Objectively bad things happen to great personalities, but they do not experience that as misery. Does this make sense to everybody? Even materially, it's like that. If you just inherited $10 million from your grandfather and you're going to get married tomorrow and you got a promotion at work and blah, 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 and you're walking down the street and somebody insults you, you're not even going to care. Correct? You're just not even going to care. It's not going to matter to you. Our state of consciousness determines whether or not we're suffering. And this envy, if we can be free of envy, and we're going to read this a little later, Narada Muni says we can become free from envy. We will not be affected by material miseries. He doesn't say material miseries won't happen to you. I have a good friend who's had a number of material miseries happen to them. And this person is struggling with faith in God. How can there be a God if these miseries are happening? But Krishna never says, Shastra never says, if you're a Krishna conscious person, there won't be things that from an objective, literal point of view are not bad. But he says you will not be affected. And this Narada Muni says, if we can give up this envy, we will not be effective. So we'd also like to consider that this giving up of envy is the only, and this has always like wowed me, it's the only symptom that Rupa Goswami gives in Nectar of Instruction, Upadeshamrita, text 5 of a very advanced devotee, right? There's 26 qualities of a devotee. There's the 55 qualities of a pure soul. Why is he only giving one? When he talks about levels of commitment, right? He talks about the beginning devotee just chants Hare Krishna, maybe just once. The intermediate devotee has taken a commitment. They've taken Diksha, and they're actually doing Bhajana Kriya. They're worshiping the deity. They're engaged in worship. And one who's full on, undeviated devotional service. They're 24 hours a day, they're in devotional service. And what's the only symptom he gives is they are free from envy. They're free from the propensity to criticize others. The only one. Why does he give that one? So what we're going to try to do today is decide, at least, I mean, many of you may already be free from envy, but at least we're going to look at this, people like myself, and what can I do to take a step toward becoming free from? And we're going to look at 4 things. We're going to look at giving up lust. We're going to look at avoiding envious people. We're going to look at changing the way in which we view people in our mind. And we're going to look at how we externally act. So giving up lust, when I was doing some research in the Bhagavatam about being free from envy, and particularly in 7:15:23, this is a part of the Bhagavatam where Narada Muni is giving instructions on how to be a civilized human being. So here he has the statement, Himsam Kamadi Anihaya. And Srila Prabhupada's translating this word himsa as envy. Now, himsa generally means what? Violence. So why is Prabhupada equating envy? And the word for envy, anyone know the Sanskrit word for envy? Matsarya. So why is Prabhupada translating himsa as envy? Let's think about this. So let's think about things we understand as violence. These are the things that we categorize as criminal, right? Murder, arson, theft, rape, theft even in terms of like embezzlement. So why are these envy and violence? So why do people steal? They're envious. I want what you have. And we can think all of the crimes are like, even murder. I want your life. Rape. I want your body. I want your wealth. I don't want what you have. And even if I can't have it, I don't want you to have it. Right? Like murder. Sometimes people murder because their beloved has gone to someone else. And it's like, okay, if I can't have you, nobody can have you. I'm going to kill you. You understand? Their wife is with another man, their husband's with another woman, and they kill their spouse. The envy is, I don't want anybody to have anything as good or better than what I have. Like you can be attractive, but not more than me. You can have money, but not more than me. You can have a nice car, but not a nicer car than me. And I want to take it away from you. So criminal activity, which is violence, is all predicated on envy. All of it. Well, I want what you have, and if I can't have what you have, at least I want to destroy what you have. I mean, we think about Vrikasura, right, where he wanted to become immortal by killing everyone else, which is a very illogical way. But if I kill everyone else, I'm the only one left standing. It's just this concept that nobody can have anything better than I am. So how do we give this up? By giving up kama, by giving up lust. And lust doesn't just mean sexual lust. Lust means I want. And I want so much that I am not mindful of the consequences. Does this make sense to everybody? I want something so badly, like people who go into debt that they can't pay off. I was speaking to one devotee who did this and had to declare bankruptcy. I want it so badly, I'm just going to add it on my credit card and not think about what the future is going to hold. Right? Or one devotee telling me that a relative who's initiated is a compulsive gambler. And, they're gambling away their house. And so all their relatives now are stuck without a house. They're not thinking of the consequences. So when we have great lust, I want, then we forget that we cannot encroach on someone else's property. And encroaching on someone else's property, it may be their money, their body, their home, it can also be their reputation. You follow? I don't want you to have a good reputation. I don't want you to be praised. We're not satisfied with our quota, and we're not able to let other people be satisfied with their. If someone has some good qualities and they're being praised for that, let them have. So that's the first thing, is to give up lust. And that means to be satisfied. Be satisfied with whatever I have by my destiny and the grace of the Lord, whatever it is. There's always going to be somebody who has something more than me. No matter how beautiful I am, someone's going to be more beautiful. How intelligent, someone's going to be more intelligent. How strong, someone's going to be more strong. How rich, someone's going to be more rich. How spiritually advanced, somebody's going to be more spiritual. And be satisfied. And be satisfied. And never try to satisfy my lust by encroaching on someone else's place. I mean, I had a conversation with a devotee the other day who was trying to pressure me to do something. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And they kept pressuring. And I wrote, a big capital bold no. They just kept pressuring me. That's also envy. I want to take something from you that you don't want to willingly give. I want to take something from your book. And that is lust. I want to enjoy so badly that I want to take. So that's the first thing, to learn to be satisfied. Whatever I have, I am satisfied with it. I have what I need, I have. And everyone else can have their part. The next thing is to avoid envious people, even if they are devotees. So this is nicely explained by Lord Kapila in 329.8. And there he uses both the word himsa and matsarya. He uses both himsa and matsarya. And he says that even if someone's a devotee, if they're violent and envious, they're in what guna, what mode of nature? Ignorance, they're in tamas. And Prabhupada writes in that purport, respect them, but don't associate. Someone's chanting Hare Krishna. We've had this long talk in our movement about 9:30 in Bhagavad Gita and what does it mean if some devotee does some abominable activity. We might respect them as a devotee, but we don't associate with them. Now you might say, well, shouldn't we help them? Well, but Prabhupada says, catch the big fish, but don't get wet. Lord Shiva can help. That's his jurisdiction. But we may not be able to do. If we associate with people who are violent and envious, then we may also have a difficult time coming out of our own envious mentality, even if they're devoted. There's a devotee I know who basically is just constantly criticizing others. And this person's a devotee, but they're constantly criticizing. And so, I can respect this person's a devotee, but I'm not going to talk to them. I'm not going to write to them. I'm not going to see them. I'm not going to deal with them. To respect them from a distance. And of course, we shouldn't want to be the person that other people want to just respect from a distance. We don't want to be the person that other people put in that category. I mean, you worked in social work, you know that if you're trying to help people who are very low class, sometimes it's difficult, right? You have to be careful that you're not affected by their qualities. I mean, we need social workers, we need criminal defense lawyers who help the criminals. We need Lord Shiva in the universe, but one should be very careful and look at, that I don't want to be affected. All right, now we're going to go to what I promised you we would talk about. And this is a verse that has always, as I said, just been a big wow for me. And no matter how many times I've studied it, I always find more and more wow in this verse. So this is Narada Muni talking to Dhruva Maharaj. And of course, Dhruva's motive for worshiping the Lord was envy. Right? There was his stepmother, Suruchi, was envious of him. And she's thinking, how can my son become the king with this other kid around? That reminds us of the Duryodhana, who's like, he doesn't want to give, I'm in the middle of the Mahabharata, and right at the place where Duryodhana says, I'm not going to give the Pandavas so much land as you can stick a pin into. And I'm thinking, give them 5 villages, for goodness sake. Like, what is your problem, dude? And everyone's telling Duryodhana, right? Everybody. Even Dhritarashtra is saying, just give them something. Right? So Suruchi's thinking like that. I can't have Dhruva around at all. I can't even sit on his father's lap for them. I might not get my share. And Dhruva got into this himself. And he's like, well, I want vengeance on my stepmother and stepbrother. I want a kingdom better than them. So Narada Muni says this verse to him. This is 4.834. Every man should act like this. When he meets a person more qualified than himself, he should be very pleased. When he meets someone less qualified than himself, he should be compassionate towards him. When he meets someone equal to himself, he should make friendship with him. In this way, one is never affected by the threefold miseries of this material world. Whoa. You want to go through the world transcendental to all the objective miseries that hit you? This is all you have to do. Deal with people without end. Prabhupada writes in the purport, generally when we find someone more qualified, we become envious. When we find someone less qualified, we deride them, which is also envy. When we find someone equal, we become very proud of our activities. These are the causes of all material tribulation. So generally, if someone's lower than me, I push them down, I exploit them. This is what happens in the world, right? The powerful people exploit the weak people. Yes? Rich people exploit poor people, educated people exploit less educated people, men exploit women. Yes? This is what goes on in the world. But instead of that, if someone's less powerful than you, you help them. Again, with the caveat that if they're very envious, you might have to help them just with prayer. You might have to help them without getting involved. And if they're equal, instead of bragging about yourself and trying to raise yourself above them, you make friendship with them. And if they're superior to you, instead of trying to drag them down, you become joyful. Yes? We find that most of the criticism in this world is directed at people who are superior to the one criticizing. They're in some kind of a superior position. Just pay attention to this. Notice that all exploitation happens of the powerful toward those less powerful. All of it. Oh, I'm in a position of power over you? Let me exploit you. And criticism generally goes up. I criticize those who have power over me or who somehow are more qualified. Ultimately, the person we're envious of is, ta-da, who? Krishna. Everything's his fault. Right? If I break my nose, that's his fault. I lose my money, it's his fault. My auntie gets cancer, it's his fault. Everything's his fault. I should be running the world. The world. Yeah, I should be running the world. Like I can even run my own life intelligently, but I should be running the world. Like I don't even know how to make good decisions for my own self. And I should be running the whole universe. So we're very critical of, but pay attention to that. You'll notice, people criticize the government. Government is a good target for criticism. Their teachers, their parents, their guru. Yes, right? I've often said, when you become a GBC in ISKCON, you get a free t-shirt with a target on the back. Shoot me now. So this is the tendency. And the tendency is just exactly what Chanura is doing. Yay, Krishna, yay, Balaram. Oh, really? It's Krishna and Balaram? Well, they aren't that good, and they're like that. That's our tendency. Someone comes and says, oh, so-and-so, they're great like this. Well, you should know about it. You should. Especially if they have some superior position. That doesn't mean we should never say anything bad. Prabhupada says to call a thief is not fault finding. I was discussing with one devotee some strategy for some service that we're dealing with other people, and we had to say, okay, well, we're dealing with these people. What's the best way to deal with them? Okay, well, they tend to be like this. They tend to be like this. And this devotee said to me, I hope we're just doing this for service. And I'm like, yeah, we have to consider who we're dealing with and what's the best way to deal with them. So it's there. But we have to be very careful that our mood is that we don't want to take anything away. And what a miserable life this is, isn't it? Anyone who's superior to you, you want to drag them down. Anyone who's equal to you, you want to put yourself above them. Anyone who's lower than you, you want to exploit them. What have you lost in your life? All what? There's no more what? There's no more love. There's no more connection. You're basically severing all connection. And therefore, one sees the world as aggressive. Prabhupada writes this in Krishna book, chapter 20, description of autumn, one of those other statements that are just like, whoa, Prabhupada says the materialists see the world as very aggressive, and to the devotee, everything is happily situated. And I've said this to some devotees, and they've said, isn't it the opposite? Isn't it the non-devotees think they're happy and the devotees think the world is aggressive? And I'm like, then why would you want to be a devotee? So this mood of I'm going to tear down those who are higher, I'm going to put myself above those who are equal, I'm going to exploit those who are lower, it means I'm seeing the world as aggressive. And if I'm joyful that you're higher than me, if I'm friends with you, if you're equal, and if I help you that you're lower, then I see the world as happy. I'm choosing love. Yes? I'm choosing love for everyone. All right, so let's go to the last one. And this is also a wow. This is the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on 4.4.12. Now, 4.4.12, this is dealing with the difficulty between Daksha and Lord Shiva. And interestingly, what Daksha is criticizing Lord Shiva for is helping the down and outs. I'm sure criminal defense lawyers get criticized by others. Why are you helping the murderers? Why are you helping the rapists? Why are you helping the thieves? Right? I'm sure they get criticized. So Lord Shiva is being criticized. Why are you helping the ghosts and hobgoblins and demons and witches? So, and Daksha is really, I'm paid Prajapati kind of thing. Right? And so here, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives us the inner mentality using which we can follow the instructions of Narada to Dhruva, while we can keep away from very envious people and while we can give up the lust in our heart. Okay, so Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that there's 4 kinds of good persons and 4 kinds of bad persons. So our mission is to choose to be one of these good people and to try to go up through the hierarchy of good people. Okay, so the good persons, in summary, sees others' faults as capable of being transformed into good qualities. That's the lowest level of good person. Next level of good person, overlooks faults and just sees the good. Next level of good person, magnifies small good qualities and sees no faults. Top good person sees only good qualities even where there aren't any. Now, bad qualities, bad persons. So the least bad person, they see others' good qualities as being able to transform into faults. Next more extreme of bad person, overlooks the good in others and sees only in faults. Next more extreme of bad person, magnifies small faults and sees no good. And the worst bad person sees only faults in others where there aren't any. So he gives examples of each of these. So good persons, lowest level good person, who sees others' faults as being capable of being transformed into good qualities. Example, speaking harshly is a bad quality, but because sometimes harsh speech can benefit others, it can become a good quality, like neem juice, even though it's bitter. Next quality of good, next level of good person, who overlooks faults and sees the good. Example, seeing a merchant, though a materialist, they conclude that he takes care of guests nicely and is worthy of deliverance. They see some good in them and they overlook the faults. Next level of good person, magnifies small good qualities and doesn't see the faults at all. This person has stolen my cloth because he is cold. And although he is a weapon, he does not attack me because he is merciful. Therefore, he is virtuous. Best good person sees only good qualities where there are none. In this world, there are no bad people. Everyone is good. And of course, we find the great devotee sees like the great devotee sees everyone is a soul. Everyone is part and parcel of Krishna. Therefore, everyone is ultimately. That should not be imitated. If that's imitated, you're going to end up. Okay, bad persons. So least bad person sees others' good qualities as capable of being transformed into faults. This person wants to help others, but soon he'll just become greedy for their assets. Next worst level of bad person, overlooks the good in others and sees the faults. This person is renounced, but he also eats a lot. This sannyasi eats rice with ghee to fill his stomach. He's lusty and should be considered fallen. Next going down, next lower level of a bad person, magnifies small faults and sees no good. Example, this renunciate has given up the forest and lives in the house of a married man. He must only want to steal their money. Worst bad person, in this world, no one is good. Everyone is evil. So you look at the world and just see, wow, everybody's contaminated. Everybody's conditioned. Everybody's fallen. There aren't any real devotees. Have you ever heard anybody speak like that? That is the lowest level of that. So here we have some strategies that we can use to get free of envy. Now, maybe we can't get free of envy in the next 2 minutes, although Prabhupada says if we surrender to Krishna instantly, we can become Krishna conscious. But even if we think I can't get rid of my envy in the next 2 minutes, at least we can progress towards that, realizing that if I do that, there's a huge benefit for me. And that is that I will not be affected by the material miseries. The material miseries will come externally, objectively, absolutely guaranteed. I will give you an ironclad guarantee that between now and the time you leave your body, unless you leave your body in the next 2 seconds, that there will be some sort of objective misery. Yes? But wouldn't it be nice to be unaffected? So what can we do? First thing, as from 7:15:23, we can let go of our own lust, our own desire to enjoy this world regardless of the consequence. That lets us be satisfied with our own quota, and it lets us not care about other people's quota. That I know that Krishna's given me everything that I need and everything that's good for me, and I don't have to envy anyone else. Next thing from T29:8, choose our association wisely. That out of sentiment, we shouldn't be associating with envious people, unless we're sure that we can actually help them. And one should be extremely. The next thing from Narada Muni from 4:12. To be joyful on seeing people more advanced, to make friendship with equals, and to help those lower with us. In other words, to always choose love, to always choose connection. To realize that when I don't choose love and I don't choose connection, it puts me in a place of seeing the world aggressive, which has me then interpret everything that happens to me as misery. You follow the logic. I will interpret the things in the world as miserable if I choose to see the world as aggressive. If I choose to see the world in a loving, connected way, I will see the things that happen to me as also loving. And the last thing from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on the verse 4:12 is to change our consciousness about how we see others. At the very least, to see people's faults as being capable of being transformed into good qualities. Very least. And at least above that, that we should focus on people's good qualities and not on their faults. So somehow or other, if we could try to notice, if we can't immediately do this, the first step is sometimes just to notice what we're doing wrong. Does that make sense to everybody? And sometimes that's discouraging. If I just start noticing, oh my goodness, I'm envious. No wonder I'm suffering. That can be discouraging, but please don't be discouraged by that. That first step is indicative that, oh, I'm actually making progress, and that clock is wrong. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai.